about it. Good. Luke 15, 18 through 21. I'd like to share with you of something I learned within the first month of being saved. Okay, Luke 15, 18 through 21. I learned it. The Lord just taught it to me. He spoke to my heart during a situation. Let me read the passage and then I'll explain it to you. I will arise. This is the story of the prodigal son, which we've all heard, most of us have heard it and understand it. It's about a young man who went out and got into sin, wasted his inheritance, and then we start the story where he's decided that he's eating with the hogs. This is stupid. Why am I here when my father has plenty of food? And so he says, I will arise and go to my father and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck, and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven, and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Now what I like about this son is, and it's unfortunate that it took going to the hogs to humble him, but it takes real humility to admit it's my problem, to accept blame for your actions. And this is how I learned it. I was saved at the age of 17, and when I got saved, it was in July during the summer. And so, I grew extremely fast. You've seen people that just grow, just thing after thing just happened to me, and I just grew and grew and grew, and my assistant pastor took me on, him and his wife, and they really helped develop me even more. And so, by the time September, school started, and I was in a public school, I was really different. When people saw me, they noticed an immediate change, because I was this hillbilly person that wore pants and said bad things and didn't care what I said and how I said it, and you just better not get my way or I'll just knock you down, one of those kind of people. And I seem like such a fun, easygoing person, don't I? How many of you that don't know my personality? Yes, that's what I see. But I am you better do it and do it right now, too, right when I say it. But anyway, so that's sort of the way I was. Gotten lots of fights, even in high school. I'm ashamed to say. I'm not bragging at that. I'm just saying. So when I got back and I realized that all these young people were going to see a changed Loretta Haynes, I knew I had to be different. So I'm trying to be different. Well, one of the guys that I used to pick on me and I used to pick on him, he noticed the change, and they didn't really like it, because whenever people see change in you, it convicts them. So he started making nasty comments about my dresses, because I started wearing dresses then. And so, I got mad and just spit out like my old self would do, right? And I just told him. And when I walked away from him, I said, see, Lord, what that guy made me do? And as soon as that came in my mind, I thought, wait a minute. It wasn't the guy that made me do it. It was my problem. And that's what this whole talk is about. It's my problem. Because if you do not realize that you have the problem, how in the world are you ever going to overcome it? That's what I love about these meetings. And I love about the speakers that you have here, because they talk and they give practical illustrations about themselves, and as they talk about themselves, conviction comes. And I said, yeah, I've done that. Might be exactly the way they've done it, but I've done that, and I can relate to it, and I realize that I have that problem also. But it takes realizing that you have the problem before you can ever change. Then I want you to look at Isaiah 48:22. Isaiah 48:22, this is a fun little verse. I love the Bible because it's got fun verses, it's got practical verses, it's got just things that'll just bless your heart. And it says, there is no peace, saith the Lord, unto the wicked. And some situations I get into, I say, you know why I'm in this situation? Because I'm wicked, No, but I think that way. When some of you might know this, but my husband's an evangelist, and he's a missionary, and he's a camp director back in West Virginia. We have a camp. When we first moved to the camp, we live at the top of a mountain. and you really have to have four-wheel drive to get to it, okay? So when we first moved to the camp, I had a baby on June the 4th, and we moved to the camp on June the 9th. 4-hour drive. I drove our little Volkswagen with the baby. My mother-in-law came over to help us make the move. I'm so glad I had somebody to help us make the move. But anyway, so she came over, and so we drove those 4 hours with the baby, and I was nursing, and so every once in a while you have to nurse, you know, because they get hungry. And all these good things were happening all the way there. And you know how tired you are after a baby. That's the hardest thing, I think, is just being so tired. When I got to the camp, in this Volkswagen, it wasn't four-wheel drive, and it was like this. So Kevin stops to talk to Dr. Boyd. I mean, I understood that. You know, that's great. He's talking to him, and so. But I was so tired. I just wanted to get to where we were going. So I got in that Volkswagen, and I drove up the hill. I thought I was going all the way up. I got about halfway up, and that car, I was flooring it, and it did go. It wouldn't go. So I backed all the way down. My mother-in-law's over here. You think you can make it? And I said, I'm going to try again, because Kevin was still busy, and I didn't want to interrupt him. So I said, okay, I'm going to go a little faster. So I hit the gas, and I stopped. I went a little further, but I still backed all the way down. I said, I'm not going to let this get the best of me. So I backed it up. I hit the gas, going as fast as I could, got a little further, and then backed all the way down. This time I backed all the way down to Kevin, and I said, Kevin, I can't get up there. You know, I just started crying, you know, like that. You know, I think Dr. Boyd said, oh no, what kind of woman have we have moving here, you know? So Kevin, he said, you just got to give it a lot of gas. I said, I'm not driving this car up this hill again, you know, like that. I just can't take it. And so he said, okay, you know, I'll do it. Now, of course, situation was that I was, you know, just had that baby and all that, and I was tired, etc. And so, but it still was my problem. My attitude was my problem. Well, what we moved into, ladies, was a concrete block building. You know. And it had sink, and it had a toilet and shower, and I was thankful for all of that for sure. But there was a pump at the bottom of the hill that every time when we wanted water, we'd have to turn it on, and then certain times during the day we had to turn it off because the pump would burn up, they said. So it was just not an ideal situation, if you can imagine. And all four of us slept on one level, you know, all together, and there were, because the building had sat empty, there were ants. Black, ugly black ants. You know, the kind that crunch real hard when you step on them. Loud, not hard, loud. Oh, it's awful. I can still hear it crunching under my... Oh, but anyway, so, and then not only did we have ants, we had bats. Bats. You know, So, whenever we moved in, we're there, and the ants came marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah, you know. And Kevin went down on the camp because as soon as he got there, they were going to have camp, and so he had to get ready for it and mowing and getting the place cleaned up, and they were going to have a camp. And so in August, I saw him again, and that's the truth. And I said, Kevin, I can't take these ants anymore. Please, will you help me get rid of these ants? Because I had used up cans and cans and cans of the stuff. And so he said, okay, we'll find those. And you'd have to know my husband and know, you think I'm colorful? He leads singing. You know, that's one of his things. And the tapes that we have over there are not professional tapes. There's tapes to learn songs and his style of leading singing, because there's nobody like him. He's very, very colorful. But anyway, so he said, we'll find those ants. So he goes searching. Finally, he goes to a wall they built in there, and it had the particle board on it, and he said, I see a lot of ant markings. I said, oh, a detective, huh? And so he starts looking, and he decides, and he tears a piece of that, and he sees lots of ants. So he pulled the whole particle board. Ladies, it had that styrofoam insulation in it. It wasn't white, it was black from so many ants. It was that many ants. No wonder I had so much problem. So he said, and he has to have fun when he's doing something, you know. So he says, okay, he said, I'm going to take out this piece of insulation. When I take it out, I want you to open the door for me. So he said, get ready. So we got to get rid of these ants, you know. So I said, oh boy, we're going to get rid of the ants. And so he grabs hold of the insulation. I come over here and I said, gangway kids, here he comes. And the door's open and he goes running out. The victor got rid of the ants. Yay! And we all clapped. It was great, you know, wonderful. But then we still had the bats. So at night, you don't know the feeling when you're laying in bed and that's exactly what it feels like. I have felt it so many times. I know what. And so, you know, when I go like this, I'd wake Kevin, and our daughter's got my color hair, but it's real long. And even at 2 years old, it was like this, and I could picture. I'd always heard stories about bats getting their feet all tangled up in somebody's hair, and I was so fearful for my daughter. You know, I didn't even think about worrying about my son, but of course he was bald, you know. Didn't worry about him, but I should have thought about the bat biting him, you know. But anyway, I didn't think about that. So when I did go, you know, I said, Kevin, there's a bat, you know, and I'd put the cover over my head, and then I'd say, oh no, I got to go take care of Jeannie. So I'd go up by her, and I'd cover the her hair up, you know, and then the bat would be zooming around my head, and I'd go, oh, you know, and I'd be screaming and hollering. And Kevin doesn't want to do anything just normal, you know, like, you know, most men would do. So he goes and gets his pistol. Now, there's been times when he took a broom, you know, and just, you know, and it was so great. But one of the times he said, you know, I'm just going to get that right away with a pistol. So he's a Western type of person. Wears cowboy boots, you know, and all that. And so he pulls out that gun, and he says, poof, you know, there goes the ceiling. No, there was no ceiling. Remember, it was just it wasn't really finished building, so it didn't matter. So he goes, and all of a sudden and that back, boom. And oh, he was so proud. There he is in his sleeping attire, with a gun in his hand. So proud he'd gotten rid of the problem again. You know what though? We just had fun during those early years because we decided we were not going to have we were just going to take it on to just have fun during the times. Because if I did get upset, it's my problem. I love what Mrs. Rule's talking on, and it's somewhat like what I'm going to speak on, because you know what? If I do get discontent, if I'd have gotten so, I couldn't list all the problems. We'd have regular times when the phone would go out for years. We'd have, of course, that's kind of nice. And then we'd have regular times when we were first living there, when there'd be no electricity. We couldn't open the refrigerator because afraid everything would be ruined, you know. And so I just started thinking, now what's so good about not having electricity? Oh, I know. Don't have to run the vacuum cleaner. I don't have to type on the computer, you know, because I'm his secretary. Oh, and so I started thinking about all the good things. And when I'm out of water, I think, now what's good about it? Oh, I know. I don't have to wash dishes. I mean, for a week, one time, I didn't have any water all week. Did I worry about it? No, the stack was up to the ceiling. And I said, I don't have to cook that much because you got to have water to cook, you know. And so we ate different things that you didn't have to cook very much. So I just tried to keep on thinking, how can I just make it through this time without losing my cool? Because if I lose my cool and I get upset, it's my problem. It's not because Kevin brought me here. Why? No, you know, when my mom came to visit us, I didn't want her to come because I knew how bad it was. You know how moms are so protective? After she went home, now she never said it to me because she's nice, but she told everybody at my home church, I can't believe what Kevin took Loretta to. You know, it was just one of those situations, you know. And if she'd have known we didn't have any money at all, it would be even worse. We were a little deceitful in that. We didn't exactly lie, but we didn't exactly tell the truth because we knew how much the mom and his parents would worry about us. But anyway, the bad ants. Well, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, after about 8-10 months, moved to the camp. She made this dress for me, by the way. She's meticulous. She's just a very perfectionistic person. What she does it right, or she don't do it at all. They moved next door to us, fixed up a house, you know, another concrete building. And so when they moved in, it was all great. We had a young man that was staying there, and I was helping him get his GED, and we were trying to help develop him because he didn't have a mom and, all kinds of different things. So he was living there in the other place, and he'd come up and eat with us. Well, he liked animals, so he got some chickens. Little banny chickens. I don't know if y'all know what they are. They're little tiny black ones, right? Well, but he was not perfectionistic. So the pen that he made for the chickens wasn't good. And every once in a while the chickens would get out. Now if you don't know much about chickens, and I have learned this about chickens, that once they roost somewhere, they always go back to the same place. Guess where the first place they roosted? My mother-in-law's doorstep. Now my husband and father-in-law, they're out on the camp working and being busy doing the Lord's work, but I'm home with the kids, and every time those chickens would roost on her doorstep, she'd come over, Loretta, those chickens are on my doorstep again. I just can't stand all that dew. I just can't stand it, And so I said, I'd go to Kevin and I'd beg him. How you patiently, beg him, please make that pen so they won't get out. So time and time again, I need time and time again. Well, Kevin and Dad went to New York, and this young man, all three of them went to New York to help move a lady to the camp. That weekend, guess what happened? The chickens got out. And they were roosting on Mom Walker's doorstep. She came over to it, and I knew it was going to be another 24 hours before they got back. I didn't know anything about chickens. I am not an animal lover. I'm sorry, those of you that kiss dogs and lick cats. I don't even, if somebody brings up a dog to me and it's cute, I say, oh, it's so cute, and I put my hands down because I don't want to think I'm going to touch it, because that's just not me. I just can't help it, So I didn't want to go get those chickens. So guess what? I did. I got mad. I'm so tired of this. He's never going to get that thing fixed, and I don't care. Like this, and so I got out the pistol. Went out to her doorstep, shot all 5 of those chickens. Now, most people, I have a terrible temper. You can tell, can't you? And did I keep the chickens or pluck them or, no way. I was so mad at those chickens for coming on my mother-in-law's doorstep that I just put them in a bag and took them down to the dumpster, threw them away. My husband comes home the next day. Now, I knew, you know how you feel? When you know you've done something wrong? So, whenever he came in the door and he said, how you doing? I said, oh, I'm great, so glad to see you. And I was trying to keep him away from any kind of subject that might go toward chickens. But you know what happened? That boy came to the door, and he had such a look on his face, I knew I was in trouble. He was not mad, he was very sad, and I felt like this big. I was a teenager, but I still felt like this big. So when Kevin came away from the door, he said, Loretta, what happened to the chickens? And I got mad all over again. And I said, I shot them. I couldn't take it anymore. They went over there and like, and now my husband's not the meek and quiet spirit of our family. And he does not let me get away with things like that. And I'm so glad he does it, because I don't want to run over him. I wanted a man. When I married a man, I wanted a man, and I'm glad I got one. Oh. So he just said, you shouldn't have shot those chickens. And because you did, you're going to have to make it up to Tim. And I said, make it up to him? He's the one that owes me for all the time he's tormenting me having those chickens. I was so mad. And finally, he got me to the place where I felt repentant. I felt really bad. And he said, now, Loretta, what do you, after he talks to me a while, he gets me. I'm sorry to say it takes a while. But anyway, so he said, now what are you going to do? And I said, well, what could I do? I already cooked for him, So he said, you ought to pay for him. Pay for those menace to society? And he said, no, that he would have got money out of him if he sold them, and he didn't even keep the meat. And so he said, you got to pay for him. Ladies, at this point in life, and this is no lie, we had $25 a month coming in. How we stayed alive, I don't even know. I could not explain it to you except for God's provisions. People would come in to bring us groceries, and, you know, I was nurse of the baby, so no problem there, you know. And so, you know what I'm saying? With no money. And I said, and I am very cheap. You know, I don't want to spend money. You know, I'm not a shopper because I'm afraid to let go of my money. I don't want to let go of my money. So, so he said, and so I had to come up with $25. Well, that was a great lesson learned. And when I look back on it now, I don't think it was Tim's fault that I killed them chickens. Although at that point I did feel like that. I realized it was my problem because I let it happen. You know, anytime there's anything in your life that you just decide you're not going to do, instead of you saying, it's their fault, no, let's look at it like it's my fault. Galatians 3:1 says, O foolish Galatians, who hath bewitched you that you should not obey the truth? Before whose eyes Jesus Christ hath been evidently set forth, crucified among you? Who is it that bewitched you? Yourself. For some of us, it's ourself. We just let ourselves think, it's not my fault. You know, she made me do that. He made me do that. This situation made me do that. Nope. Let's be honest with each other. It's our problem. It's my fault. I'm the way I am. Now, some of you, if you have some kind of a problem that you can't overcome, you know, all you can do is pray about it and ask the Lord to help you overcome it. But there are problems that we can overcome. Say that you have a negative mind. And you can walk into a situation and you see all the problems. You could walk in this room and you saw every picture that was out of line. You know, there's people that's like that. And you have to train yourself not to think that way. You know, and before you can do that, you got to admit that you have a problem. My husband has a preference about my daughter having long hair. Well, you know what? I decided years ago I was going to let him have the type of daughter he wanted. You know? Now, I'm the one that has to wash it. And it takes 30 minutes to wash and dry it. It really does. And I think, but you know what? What's wrong with me that I can't let him have a daughter that he wants? If he wants a son that will eat, if he wants a son that will eat broccoli, let him have a son that will eat broccoli. And instead of you saying, oh, he's just being too picky, why don't you say, listen, it's my problem if I can't accept what he wants. Some of you that have no control over your television, and he talks to you, and he says to you, I don't want them kids, you know what, all mothers love televisions because they're good babysitters. We all know that, right? You know? And if he says, I really don't want the kids watching television, then let's back him up. And instead of saying, oh, but they wanted it, and I need this time. If you expect me to get all this work done, how can I? If the kids are bothering. Instead of making all these excuses why you keep doing it, just say, it's my problem. I'm going to make sure that we fulfill Dad's law and rules, and just 1 hour a day, if that's what it is. My husband, in our house, we have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and he wants them to read the Bible every day. Well, you know, in my mind, I thought, and for a while, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think a thing about trying to enforce it. He's the Bible teacher in this, situation. Let him take care of making sure they read the Bible. It's a hard thing to remember, and by the time they get up, I want to get into school, and I want to get, I think of all this. See what I'm doing? Making all these excuses why I shouldn't have to worry about making sure the kids read the Bible every day. But you know what? A few months ago, I decided it's my problem those kids are not reading the Bible. I wanted to pass the blame on to him. But really and truly, I'm the one that's with them the most. And I said, I'm just going to make sure that they have their Bible time. So I went out and bought them books, little books, because I feel like I need accountability, and so I write down what I read and how I read, all that. So I bought them books, and I got a book that has a lock and key, because, I thought they'd think that was neat. And so, so they both have books, and they have their Bible time every day, because I remind them. I make sure. And you know what? I want to fulfill my husband's preferences. But the only way I'll do it is if I stop making excuses why I'm not doing it. Right? You agree with me? You understand? So I'm just saying I'm trying to take responsibility for my own actions. In close, as I told you, we've been trying to gain support, and we have gained support, but I'm still not somebody that's going to go out and spend a lot of money on clothes. My mother-in-law makes me a dress once a year, and I don't ask her. If I wanted to, she'd make me more. but I just don't want to do that to her. So I get dressed once a year, but I started noticing that when you live on a camp, you wear tennis shoes, and we don't have any sidewalks, so it's muddy and dirty and all that, and I started to notice that my casual clothes was looking a little dumpy. You know what I mean by dumpy? And all these people were teaching, you ought to, look nice and be at a great appearance, and there is a way for casual clothes to look nice. And for those of us that don't know how, I grew up in a house where my mom wore those shifts. I don't know if you know what they are. They're rounded with no sleeves, and that's what she wore around the house all the time. And so that was casual clothes to me. So I'd always wear jean skirts, and if I wore a blouse and it had a big ink spot on it, that didn't bother me a bit. Because I didn't see it. It was too far up. And hose, when I wore hose, if it had a run on it, I always made sure the run was at the back, so that if anybody saw it, they'd think that I didn't know it was there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that was my mentality about. Now, some of you, I look around here and I can tell you don't relate to this. I was with somebody at a meeting one time, and she started pressing a dress that I thought looked pretty good, And I said, I know I still got a lot to learn about clothes, you know what I mean? Because, if it's got a little wrinkle back here, I think, why press it now? Because when I wear it, it's going to get another wrinkle. You understand? This was but I said, now, Lord, I need some clothes to make me change, and I came in contact with the two ladies, and we need to be teachable enough to ask people. When I come in contact with people that I know, they could, their casual clothes look classy. I thought, boy, how do you accomplish that? So I talked to them. And they taught me about adding belts and getting fun jewelry and using scarves and all that stuff, So a lady that I know that is a Mrs. Hiles type of thing, Mrs. Hiles? She just always looks put together. She came to the camp a couple of years back during the summer. And she looked at me, and we were having fun, and she was only there not having fun because she's not the outgoing fun, but we were talking. So whenever, I don't mean that the way it sounded. Mrs. Hiles is fun, but, not slap her on the back, let's go ride a horse, not like that. So whenever that lady left, she said, Loretta, I just want you to know it's a blessing to see somebody that lives at a camp. A place where you could just be dirty and all the time, and you just look so nice. I thought, gone are the holy hose. And I started thinking about all the things that I let by, and like I'd wear a skirt that was a button-down skirt with a button off here. I really would. That's terrible. I'd hate to admit that, and y'all look at me and think, oh, how awful. But you know what I decided? I decided it was my problem that I did not dress right. I've got a Holy Father that wants to give me anything I want. I'll just ask Him. And so I just started praying about it. And you know what? I have changed just drastically. I'd wear shoes that had mud on them. Wouldn't think a thing about it. It's going to get muddy again. That was my philosophy there. It's just going to happen again. But now I'll clean them up. What a miracle, you know what I mean? Now, isn't this something? And one last story I want to tell you is my husband said to me in January, we had an ice storm, and he said to me, he said, we got to get up and down the hill, and I said, there's ice. I don't like to drive on ice. Please, Kevin, I don't want to. He said, oh, Loretta. He said, I don't want a wife that says I can't do that and is scared to do anything. I want you to drive the hill. I said, okay, I'm going to get in that Subaru and I'm going to drive the hill. So I went, and I had driven it before and slid down and almost went over I really had a couple times. There's no feeling like it. When you are spinning going forward and you're going backwards, there's nothing like it. So, so yesterday when I was coming here, this thought comes to me all the time. Since he said that in January, I want a wife that's not afraid. Well, I was going to drive another vehicle we have that's more dependable to the airport, but they were threatening snow. I drove in 1 to 2 inches of snow while I was coming to the airport. And so I said, well, so I knew if I left, so the four-wheel drive Subaru, the inspection sticker was going to die at the end of February, which I get home, and so I said, oh, what am I going to do? And so I said, if I go in that vehicle, I'm going to have to leave the night before because I can't get off the hill and all that. So I decided I had to take the Subaru. So I get in the Subaru. Most people would not make a trip in that Subaru. It's old, dilapidated. By the way, the only person that would have passed the inspection was a toothless mechanic that we have there in West Virginia, And he didn't have any stickers, that's why it never got passed. So I get in the Subaru, and I get down to the bottom of the hill, and I get out to flip the snow off the windshield wiper, and the wiper fell off. So I get out, and I put it back on. It's 2 in the morning, I'm cold, and all this, and so I keep on going, and all of a sudden, I got to the 45 minutes away, and the car started hunching, and so I pull on the thing, and all I could think of was that gas treatment stuff. So I went and got some of that, put it in, put more gas in, and so I was driving 45. I get out of the service station and turn the windshield wiper, and it flew this way into the road. So I had to stop, go get the windshield wiper, put it back on again, and I didn't turn the windshield wipers back on because I was afraid it'd fly out. I didn't know where I'd ever find it again if it did fly somewhere else. So driving on down, 45 minutes away, and what happens? I go down to 15 miles per hour, and I got it floored. So I stop again. I said, I had a little zoom when the gas treatment stuff got in there, so I said, I'm going to try it again. So I stopped and got another. And I should have asked somebody if it hurt it to put that much through it, but I said, I got to get there. Mrs. Evans is counting on me being there. So when I put that gas treatment in, put more gas in, got in there, and this time I said, it was dangerous driving with passing trucks with no windshield wipers. So I said, I had to turn it on, so I wanted to take a chance. So I put it on, and I said, I'm not going to listen to any music. At this point, I just need to pray all the way there, So I stopped listening to anything, and I just keep driving, and I got to the airport. And I thought, it's pretty good that Kevin's got a wife that's not afraid to do anything. Pretty good for Mrs. Evans, because I probably wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for that. So you know what? It's my problem if I'm not what I'm supposed to be for my leader. Because God will use what I'm supposed to be, and He'll help him to encourage me to be that. So don't fight. Don't fight what God's trying to change you. Don't fight how He wants to improve you. Just listen, be intent to want to, and try to learn everything you can. Father, thank you so much for these great ladies. Lord, thank you for the truth from the prodigal son. Thank you, Lord, that we can accept blame and take responsibility for all our actions. Lord, help us not to be ones that scream at our children and then say, they just drive me crazy. Lord, please help us to be women that would be teachable and would learn and do as you'd want us to do in every area of our life. In Jesus' name. Now, with your heads bowed and your eyes closed, anybody that has something that you come to mind, you said, I need to accept blame for that, and it's my problem. Anybody like that, would you raise your hand? Oh, praise the Lord for your honesty. Lord, bless them and help them to change that. In Jesus' name, amen. Now,